What's up, YouTube? Georgia Silver Hunter back, and today we'll be doing a $355 mixed coin roll hunt. Now, I've had a really tough time getting boxes lately, so basically when I go by the bank, I get what I can, and because the banks around here lately have not been getting full boxes, I've had to pick up the customer change that they have on hand. So today we got $200 worth of quarters, we got $50 worth of nickels, $100 worth of dimes, and $5 worth of pennies. We'll be looking for everything from mint airs, varieties, wheat pennies, silver coins, war nickels, San Francisco proofs, you name it. We look for it on this channel, and we're going to go ahead and jump into these coins and see what we can find. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with the dimes because they're my least favorite to hunt, and mainly we will be looking for our silver dimes, which are 1964 and earlier. Of course, we would love to find some mercury dimes, barber dimes, anything made of silver. Our 90% silver dimes today are worth about $2.30 a piece, give or take, depending on spot price. So every dime we find there is worth a decent haul. The problem is finding silver dimes lately has become quite difficult. The way we look for that really quickly, if you've never coin roll hunted before, is we just check the edges of these dimes for a solid kind of grayish silvery edge. And if I happen to come across one, of course, we'll bring you in so you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to open all the rolls on camera so that we can, you can see what comes out. If we don't find anything, we will be fast forwarding through these and moving on to our next denomination, just to keep the video moving. Alright, well that does it for our dimes, and as you guys could see, I know it was probably scrolling by really fast. We didn't have any silver, nothing silvery jumped out at us. I'll go back through these. I don't look at every dime because it just takes so very long and there's so very little to look for. But if anything interesting jumps out at me as I'm rewrapping them, I will let you know. But I'm not real hopeful because I don't look that closely as I rewrap. So occasionally something will jump out, like a misaligned die or something like that. But we're going to get these wrapped up, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the nickels because they're my next most favorite thing to hunt. So this is pretty neat. So, you know, you guys saw me spreading them out. And the way that I typically rewrap is I just kind of spread them down here to get them off the table and into a container so I can rewrap them. And I do pay attention. I try to look for, like I said earlier, off-center strikes or maybe some dates that I might typically look for something. And I came across a 1970 as I was cleaning up, and I put it under the scope real quick because there is a proof reverse on the 1970. And the way you can tell it's a proof reverse is if you have these extra little flame lines in the middle of the back of the torch. And I went ahead and got my Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book out. You'll see the 1970 10-cent piece. They have a proof style reverse. And if you have those extra lines, you've found one. Now, they say circulated $10 to $15. I have looked on eBay and seen these things go for a couple of bucks, but I will say they're not too hard to find. So I've never tried to sell one. Perhaps you could get that kind of money for it, but, you know, just letting you know it's out there. And I just happened to come across one, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to hang on to it. Now, you may wonder, what does it normally look like? The 1970 common torch looks like this. It's just a big piece of metal. You don't have that extra definition in the flame. So there it is in our book, and here it is on our dime. You can see it under kind of normal. I can usually see it without having to put it under the scope, but I do like to double check it. You can see here under my phone, you've got those extra lines. So pretty cool. I'm not going to say it's worth, you know, $10, but it's something I'll put in a tube because I've started a tube of these, and it's just something neat for the hunt. All right, well, we got those dimes cleaned up. I want to go ahead and get a couple of rolls of nickels opened here on camera just to see what they look like. Are they going to be some older stuff, some newer stuff? If we happen to get lucky and find some war nickels or something like that right off the rip, that'll be great. Otherwise, we will go off camera and hunt these and bring you in as we find things. Again, nickels are a little harder to edge hunt, but sometimes those war nickels will jump right out at you. And sometimes you get lucky when you spread it out like this. Like I see right here, hopefully it's on camera, a 1940 jumped right out at me. So that's going to be a 1959 or earlier. We got a 1940 filly, so that's something we're going to hang on to as part of the hunt. We'll put that right there. Let's see if anything else kind of climbs out at us. That's one of the new buffaloes. And that's a 1964 filly, so we really want to find that 64 Denver. Trying to make that back into a pile over here. Decent looking 2000D. So one find on the hunt already, pretty cool. We're going to keep going. We'll do 2 more rolls here just to see what they look like. So right here, popping right out of the end, we've got another 1940. This time we have a Denver, so if we were completing an album, we'd have the filly and the Denver right off the rip. That's one we would be able to plug in and not have to look any further for. So there's a 64. It's a 94, just an old beat-up looking one. And it's possible I'll miss stuff. I'm just trying to go through really quickly to see if there's anything that's something I can show you that we opened live on camera. I will say I've got a couple of folks in the chat. I'm not going to name them by name to give them any more airtime than they deserve, but there's a lot of people that think I stuffed these rolls. I would be finding a lot more exciting and a lot more interesting things if I were stuffing these rolls. And for those of you that have been following me for years, you know what you see is what you get. I bring these things home from the bank, I put them on the table, and I go through them. And what you see is what I find. If I were really interested in trying to make these things look really unbelievable, I would be having outstanding, amazing, crazy finds in every video. But I don't, because I show you what I find. Okay, so we're getting through rolls 6 through 10. We're actually here on roll number 8, and we've come across something that's pretty tough to find. I actually had somebody in my comments the other day indicate they've been hunting nickels for, I think it was a little over a year, maybe it was 2, and still had not come across a 2009. These were super low mintage. I'll go ahead and throw the mintage for the 2009 P up on the screen. Now, as you can see, this is not in great condition. Basically, we hang on to this because it is such a low mintage. It's not worth a whole lot more than a nickel in this condition. But one day, who knows, due to the low mintage, maybe it might be. All right, so I got my rolls. I think I opened one extra one a little bit earlier, so I think I'm on roll maybe like 15 or 16 here, and I'm going to need the community's help on this one. I've been looking at this one for about 15 minutes, and I'm not sure what I have here. Well, I have a guess at what I have, but I would love to know from you guys. I got a couple of interesting things to look at. I'll go ahead and start with the end in mind. I think I've got some dye deterioration, because that seems to be really common on the 1960 to 1962 nickel. But I also have something weird on the back that I don't know if it's a planchet error, a feeder finger error. It's not a double dye, but let's take a look at it. We're going to start on the obverse, just showing off some of the dye deterioration. You can see clearly here around the 6 and the 2, really all the lettering. You can see that almost swirling of the metal. Like 9 times out of 10, as I understand it, when you see that, that is usually a dye that is really worn, or it could have been a loose dye. I guess I did read that on one of the forums I was looking at. But I typically associate this with dye deterioration. We see that on the obverse, and then if we want to look at the reverse, you see the same thing down here, big time in like United. You could, a lot of people might look at this and go, well, that's doubling because it looks like I've got 2 T's and 2 E's, but it's actually like a weird spread on both sides, so it's not really a doubling. We'll come up here into E pluribus. You can see it a little bit up here, really not so much at the top. A little bit here on the sides of the letters. But the thing that's throwing me a little bit for a loop is over here on unum of E pluribus unum. I've got raised metal lines here, here, and here. And I'm kind of unsure what that is. It's not a doubling. It's not a strike through. I don't know what that is. So if you do, let me know in the comments down below. Even if you have a really good guess at it, I would love to know. This is definitely a nickel I'm going to hang on to just because it's interesting. I think it is a really good example of dye deterioration, but I have no idea what this is. If you happen to know where maybe one of these is sold on eBay or something like that, I would also love to know what you guys think of the value. Just got roll number 17 open and just bringing you in because I love finding dimes stuffed in my customer wrapped nickels. Did they give us a good one? Let's see. Just a 2015 Philly. Same roll, last two. We did come across a 2024 Philly. And these things are pretty tough to come by. Still going for like 17, 18, 20 bucks a roll on eBay. So make sure you do look out for those 2024 Phillies. And I did see recently the 2025 Philly pennies, original bank wrap rolls, are going for a small fortune. So if you can find those, definitely put those on eBay. So we are getting through our very last roll of nickels, and we got about 4 in, and we've come across a pretty cool find. It is the very first Jefferson nickel ever made. Well, maybe not the first one, but the first year they were made, 1938. Hopefully you can see that all right. Now, we need the 38 Denver. It is a key date, super low mintage, and this is a decent looking 1938 considering it's been in circulation for what, over almost 90 years, give or take. So pretty cool. Let's check it out. Do we have that Denver? No, we do not. But we have a pretty good looking 38. Now there is a DDO and a DDR on this coin. I know the one we're really looking for is down here in the Monticello and in the 5 cents. And I don't see it. Let's look for any doubling up here on the front. Usually it's going to be in Trust or Liberty. Not seeing it there either, and we'll check the date just to be sure. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm not seeing any doubling on the date as well. So still pretty cool find. First year of the Jefferson nickel. So same roll, just a few coins later, we've got a new find in the 40s. We found 3 of the 1940s so far, but this one's new. It's the 1942, and this is a pretty good lesson right here. You could look at the finish on this and know that it's a clad nickel once you handle enough of them. But the 42 is in that range of war nickels, so 42 to 45 could be a 35% silver, and the way you know is if there is a big letter up there above the Monticello building, so a P, a D, or an S would be up there if this were silver. Since it's missing, it's just regular plain old clad. Well, that does it for our nickels, and for a real quick wrap up, we did get overstuffed or maybe misstuffed with a dime, so we made a nickel there. We had that nice 1938 we already showed you. We had a couple of 1940 Phillies, one 1940 Denver. That 42, that was a Philly as well. The super low mintage 2009 Philly. That 1962 that had the really bad, I'm going to call it dye deterioration and that little bit of weirdness there. I'm not going to call it a DDR, but there's definitely something on there. Make sure you go back earlier in the video. I covered that one in a lot of detail. I'm curious what you guys think of it. And we've got this 2024 Philly with a little bit of damage on it, but they're worth quite a bit of money on eBay. They're coming down quickly in value, but still worth some money. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into the pennies, and then we'll finish with the quarters. So I'm going to go ahead and open this particular roll of pennies on camera for you guys. I went ahead and pre-weighed all the rolls because a typical roll of zinc pennies weighs about 126 grams. Anything over that, you've got some copper in it. And this was the heaviest roll of the 10, weighing in at a little over 100, and I don't want to use that, weighing in at a little over 131 grams. So I'm expecting to see more copper in here than in any of the other rolls. And sorry, I'm making a mess here, but I figured we would look through this one together, and if there was a likelihood of finding a wheat penny, it would be in this roll. So we got a 1969, I think that's an S. No, it's a D. So there's a little bit of copper right there. That's going to be copper right there. There's a 1967. And most of my penny hunts these days, we are finding a lot of copper more than anything else. My wheat pennies are starting to dry up. That's a 1972. And there are a whole bunch of DDOs and DDRs on that. I'll take a closer look at that off camera, and if we have something, I'll bring you in. There's a 71. What is that? That's a 1993. It looked like it might have been a 70-something. That's going to be copper. That's a 76 Denver. Don't know what that is. That's an 82. Look like a large date. And that could be copper or zinc. We'll weigh that one later. And I will go back through these. Man, these dates are tough to read. Okay, so no wheat pennies. I'll go through, I'll find all the copper, and I'll tell you, I'll probably go through all of these rolls, and we'll come back and give you a copper count. If we happen to find some wheat pennies, I will bring you in. So see you in just a few. And there's a 1976. I missed that one. So 7 so far. So we've gotten into roll number 5, and I've been keeping track of how much copper we've been able to find in each roll. And getting through roll number 5, surprise, surprise, we've come across our first wheat penny. We've got ourselves a 1954 in pretty good shape. Well, we are done with the pennies, and it turned out pretty much like I expected. We ended up with 46 copper pennies, none in fantastic shape, and we did end up with one 1954 wheat penny, which I'll be hanging on to for sure. I actually hang on to all my copper as well. A lot of people ask why I hang on to it. Well, 46, or really 47 copper pennies today have a copper value of about $1.30, $1.31. So for effectively less than 50 cents, it's worth 2.5 times that. So I do hang on to those. These I just loose roll or leave in a bucket. And then, of course, my wheat pennies we roll by sort of decade or year if I have a lot of them. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our quarters, and hopefully we'll find some cool stuff in there. All right, well, let's get into those quarters. We have $200 worth, and we got a couple of different types of wraps. So let's go ahead and get a few open here on camera and see what they look like. So the first thing we always do is we just hunt for that silver by looking for the edge. Nothing there. Spread them out, take a look. I'm not seeing any proof, so let's keep on going. Here's a different type of wrap. We're gonna do kind of one of, actually these are the only two types of wraps we have, so I'll go ahead and open like 3 or 4 of these, and then I'll start going through them, and if we find any errors or varieties, I'll be sure to bring you in, or any W's or San Francisco business strikes or proofs, I'll bring you in for them, we'll talk about them. But quarters lately, it's been a lot about hunting for the die chips and hunting for the W's. And the W's have even become kind of hard to get at because they were in 2019 and 2020, and we are now in 2025, so they're pretty far away, and most people know about them now, and they've been pretty well plucked out of circulation. So anyway, let's see here if we got any silver. That is a big no. Let's do 2 more here. See how they're looking. So nothing there. And let's do one more of this type just to see what we have. Making a mess. Sorry, guys. This roll got away from me. So no silver in there. I didn't hear any, but we'll put these back together and take a look. And we have no silver in there. All right. Like I said, I'll go back through these for errors, varieties, proofs, W's, you name it. Hopefully if we find something, I'll bring you in. If not, we'll just move on to the next 5 rolls. So bringing you in here on roll number 4, getting it cleaned up, and we've got a very minor die chip, and we find these all the time. So if you've been watching my quarter hunt videos, you know all about this one. This one is the little die chip down in Wilma Mankiller's hair. There should be a nice channel right here, and instead we've got a little bit of metal that was left behind during the striking process. So these things go for a couple of bucks on eBay if you can sell them. There's a lot of people selling them out there, so if you find one, you may sit on it. If you're new to coin roll hunting, it's cool to at least pull a couple, maybe flip them up. But these are the kinds of things that I do hang on to. I have entire rolls of these things that I've been collecting over the years. So we were opening rolls 11 through 15. I've stopped you at roll 13. You can see I've found a couple of things along the way. Nothing all that important, at least until now. Here's 15, 14, roll 13, just laid it out. And I was going through and I saw this dark coin originally and got a little excited, and then I looked just a little bit to the right and we've got something super silvery in there. We've got ourselves a Washington silver quarter. We've got a Denver on the back. Let's check out the front of this thing. We got a 1954 90% silver quarter. These things are super tough to come by. I don't find a lot of silver quarters in my quarter hunts, so this is always a welcome sight for me. One of these days I'd love to get a big silver score in quarters. It just hadn't happened yet, but 1954D we will take all day long. So I was getting through the tail end of roll number 13. I still have 5 rolls up there, so 14, 15. And I did come across one of the new, I don't even know how to say this, Zitkala quarters, the author, activist, composer quarters. I am still on the lookout for a Denver, but I put this under the scope because I know there's some DDRs, at least that people are floating around on eBay. A lot of them are up on her chin and in her hair. But while I had it under the scope and I was looking around, and we're going to be way in on this thing. So the one I'm seeing all over eBay is a big double chin. Like there's a whole extra chin down here. It's really obvious, and there's a bunch of people that have found those. But while I was looking around, I was looking in the lettering, I was looking in the hair, looking all over, I decided to come over and look at the bird that's up here, and it drew my attention because I do have a little bit of damage in the bird right here, but you can see I've got some doubling here under the chin of the bird and the tail of the bird. So I got on eBay and looked, and I did find one other person that's got one of these listed out on eBay for $50, which is crazy. It hasn't sold yet, but I didn't see any other ones. So I'd love to hear from you guys, especially those of you that are also coin roll hunt. Do you think that would qualify as a new double die reverse? And what do you guys think on value for it? Because, if they're going for 40 or 50 bucks, this may end up going on eBay. Let me know in the comments down below. So now getting through roll 14, apparently all of the errors decided to show up here towards the end of the hunt. This is one of the 2016, I think it's the 2016 Homestead. Now this one, we always look for the snow on the roof, which we don't have. The next place we want to look is for these double die reverses here in the windows. And you can see the double window pane there and the double window pane there. So if I can find this exact one on Variety Vista, I'll put a picture of that up on the screen, and if there's an eBay value, I'll throw that up as well. The other thing we always want to look for is the leaky bucket, where we get a big die chip down here on the water pump in the bucket, but we don't have that on this one, so we'll settle for just the DDR. So we're getting through our last 4 rolls, and I've come across a die chip error that I've only seen a few of. That doesn't mean that it's super rare, and this quarter's not in great shape. As you can see, it's a Philadelphia. It is the 2007 Wyoming, and if you pay attention here to the tail, we've got a huge die chip hanging onto the back of that tail. Normally, I check this for a DDR that shows up up here near the top of the saddle. Let's go ahead and put that under the scope for you to show off both. So normally that DDR presents itself somewhere in here, usually with an extra line through here or extra line up on the, like I said, this part of the saddle he's hanging onto, or even down in this little crevice here. But we didn't find that on this one. This one, we've got a big, long die chip down the tail. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be valuable. I'll see if I can find a comp on eBay if I can, but this quarter's in pretty sad shape, so somebody who just desperately wanted this particular error would be the only one I could imagine buying it. I'm just going to throw it in my collection, though. So we're getting through roll number 18, and just like 4 coins from the end, we've come across something we haven't seen in a good long while. This is a San Francisco clad proof. Now, you know it's clad, again, from the edge, like we know from our $50 proofs. If there any copper on that edge, we know it's clad and not silver. But we got that S San Francisco mint mark, so this is a business strike. And let's see, we got a White Mountain, New Hampshire, 2013, in pretty darn good shape. The San Franciscos also have a slightly nicer finish. They look more like the Denvers than the Phillies. I've just noticed in general the Phillies are more matted. And the San Franciscos and Denvers just finish nicer. Now, all that said, I'm surprised the San Francisco business strikes don't command more money, because these actually have a lower mintage than the West Point quarters. I think this one's somewhere between 1 and 2 million. I think it's less than 2 million, whereas all the West Points were exactly 2 million per design. So very cool find. Not a lot of value here. People don't really spend money on them. I don't understand why they don't, but pretty cool. All right, well, we're getting through our last 2 rolls. Roll 19, we're about, a third of the way through, and we've got another 2015 Homestead quarter. It's another DDR. It's just a different one. It's a really good way for me to show you all the various DDRs. Well, not all of them. There's like 100 of these that are documented, but our last one had the DDR in this window and this one has it here and here. And like the last one, I'll look it up on Variety Vista if I can find the exact DDR that it is. And if there's a comp on eBay, I'll put that on there as well. And you probably also saw we've got what could be a little die chip. It could just be some damage up here on this window. But that is another place you can look. There can be die chips here and here. And I think I mentioned earlier, you've always got to look for that snow on the roof. And I haven't found one of those in this hunt, but I always look for it. Well, this is bringing us to the end of our hunt. And just really quickly, I would recommend you go back through the video to see the other denominations if you just fast forwarded to the end. But we did have one proof reverse dime in our dime hunt. We had a handful of 40s and 50s nickels that we found. We did get one low mintage 2009 Philly nickel. We found a whole bunch of copper, and we did come away with one wheat penny, 1954. Now, to wrap up our quarters, it ended up being a pretty good hunt. I was a little disappointed through like the first, I don't remember what it was, 12 rolls or so. But rolls 13 through 20 really picked it up. But to recap quickly, we had 2 Denver bicentennials, 4 Phillies. I usually hang on to the nicer ones and make rolls, and I always check the Denver for the DDO. Didn't find the DDO, and none of these are really nice enough to keep, so they'll go back. We did end up with the Wyoming big die chip on the horse's tail. We did come up with 2 different DDRs on our New Hampshire. We covered that earlier in the video. We do have what I believe to be either a new or a rarely found double die reverse. At least that's my opinion up here in the bird. And we covered that in more detail earlier in the video as well. And then we got 2, I only brought you in for 1, of the Wilma Mankillers with the die chip and the hair, which I brought you in for that as well. But both of those are exactly the same. We did come across a San Francisco business strike. This was our White Mountain, New Hampshire there. And I hang on to all my 2009s, 10s, and 11s that we come across. And these Guams, at least this bottom one was pretty nice. The 2010 looked pretty decent. We had 2 of the 2011, Washingtons. And I don't have really nice versions of those. Those may actually upgrade our books. And then we had a decent 2011 Oklahoma here from Denver. Of course, the thing that made the quarters completely worth it, and I say that because I find so few silver quarters that anytime I find a silver quarter, honestly, I could have hunted 100 rolls and been happy finding just this one. I want to say one year I did something like 15 or 20 or 25 boxes of quarters and found like 4 silvers or 2 silvers or something. So to find 1 silver in 20 rolls is pretty darn good. So that's going to wrap up our hunt. I really enjoyed this one. I really like doing the multi-denomination hunts because it gives me something different to look for in every grouping, and I hope you guys like it as well. Again, if you didn't see the close-ups of all this stuff, go back through the video. I covered it in more detail earlier. So with that, if you did enjoy this one, make sure you click on that like button, drop on down below, leave me a comment. And if you have any friends that enjoy videos like this, make sure you share it on your socials. Make sure you, what else can you do? Share it. Just share, comment, like, subscribe, all those good things. If you're new to the channel and you like videos like this, make sure you do click that subscribe button, then click that little notification bell so you get alerted every time I drop a new video. I was really happy to say all my channel members, I usually try to drop my videos, a couple hours to a day or two early. And this was one that I think every single one of my channel members watched before it went live. So that's pretty cool. You guys are interacting with this stuff early when you get the chance. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for supporting the channel each and every month. It means the world. So with that, I hope you guys are doing well. Take care. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.